The marble lobby of the Marcellus Grand Hotel glowed beneath golden chandeliers. A man in a navy trench coat paused before the reception desk, his gaze drawn to a poster framed in glass. Exclusive Lamborghini unveiling private auction. Invite only. He stepped forward. Calm. Polite. Excuse me, he said. Can you tell me where the Lamborghini auction is taking place? The receptionist's smile froze. Her eyes flicked from his scuffed boots to his weathered leather bag, then to her colleague. A quiet chuckle slipped out. Sir, she said slowly, as if to a child, that event is not open to the public. Laughter echoed faintly from the concierge desk. What they didn't know, what would become clear 5 minutes later, was that the man they mocked didn't just belong at the event. He owned it. The Marcellus Grand wasn't just any hotel. It was the playground of the elite where old money came to toast new ventures, and reputation was currency. Tonight, it hosted the unveiling of a one-of-one Lamborghini prototype, reserved for ultra-VIP investors and select collectors. Into this world walked Malcolm Grant, 57, a man whose presence was quiet, deliberate. He wore no flashy watch, no designer shoes. His hands carried the roughness of someone who had built, not inherited. He'd flown in under the radar, deliberately. No entourage. No announcements. He wanted to see, with his own eyes, the kind of culture this hotel and its staff had built around the event he had funded. As Malcolm waited at the desk, a young valet whispered just loud enough. Maybe he's lost, or delivering something. The receptionist didn't correct him. She leaned on the counter, a hint of arrogance curling her lip. Sir, unless you have a personal invitation, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to step aside. This area is for VIP arrivals only. Malcolm nodded once. Of course. His voice was even, but his eyes observed everything, the way she addressed another guest moments later with reverence, the deferential bow to a man in a tuxedo. He turned slowly, scanning the grand staircase where wealthy attendees were ushered upstairs by a private hostess team. He recognized several faces, tech founders, a former racing legend, a Saudi investor. But not one of them recognized him. And that was exactly how he wanted it. Malcolm approached the velvet-roped staircase. A tall, thin security attendant, with a perfectly knotted tie, blocked his way. Evening, Malcolm said calmly. Is this where the Lamborghini presentation is being held? The attendant's jaw tightened. This section is restricted. If you have an invitation, I'll need to see it. If not, the restaurant is on the other side of the lobby. From the bar area, 2 hotel staff whispered and smirked. One of them, a young concierge, imitated Malcolm's calm voice under his breath. Is this where the Lamborghini presentation is? And the other snorted. Their mockery wasn't loud, but it was sharp. Intentional. Malcolm met the attendant's stare. He didn't raise his voice. Good, he said simply, then I'm in the right place. The attendant scoffed. Sir, I'm not going to repeat myself. This is a private event for people who— He stopped mid-sentence as a woman in a gold gown swept past, invitation flashing. She didn't even glance at Malcolm. The attendant shifted his weight, exhaled through his nose, and motioned for Malcolm to step aside. Maybe check with the concierge, he said dismissively. They might help you find the exit. The humiliation wasn't in words alone, it was in the tone. In the looks exchanged behind his back. In the assumption that a black man, dressed modestly, could not possibly be part of the world upstairs. Malcolm inhaled slowly, steadying the quiet storm beneath his calm exterior. This was not the first time he'd been underestimated. But tonight, they were underestimating him on his own ground. Just then, a junior staff member, nervous, eyes wide, hurried down the staircase with a clipboard. She scanned the lobby, then froze when she saw Malcolm. Sir, excuse me, she said, her voice faltering. Are you Mr. Grant? The receptionist's smirk wavered. The security attendant frowned. Yes, Malcolm said. The junior staffer's hands trembled as she checked the clipboard. I've been instructed to escort you to the Founders Lounge. They've been waiting for you. The room shifted. The smirks disappeared. The valet straightened his posture. The receptionist's face drained of color. Malcolm glanced at the attendant blocking the staircase, the same man who had just implied he didn't belong. For a brief second, silence filled the marble hall. Even the hum of distant violins from the ballroom seemed to pause. Malcolm gave a faint, controlled smile. Lead the way, he said. As he began to ascend, the weight of realization started to crush the mockers below. They didn't yet know how deep their mistake ran, but they were about to find out. The Founders Lounge was a cathedral of luxury, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, rare art lining the walls, and velvet chairs surrounding polished mahogany tables. The Lamborghini prototype rested on a raised platform, under a halo of soft spotlights. Malcolm walked in silently, his eyes scanning every face. A few elite guests glanced up, polite nods, but no recognition. A young hotel events coordinator, a blonde woman named Hannah, approached him cautiously. Mr. Grant, we weren't expecting you yet, she said, voice barely above a whisper. The presentation was private. Malcolm's gaze remained calm. I trust I'm in the right place. The tension thickened instantly. Two male staff, the concierge and security attendant from the lobby, were present at the lounge's entrance. They froze, realizing the man they had mocked wasn't just a guest, he was someone far above them in status. But neither staff member said anything. Their arrogance was gone, replaced by a sharp, almost fearful curiosity. Malcolm approached the Lamborghini. Unlike most visitors, he didn't just admire it visually. He crouched, inspecting the rims, the suspension, the carbon fiber inlays. His hand hovered near the engine cover, careful not to touch. From across the room, the concierge whispered to the receptionist. He knows everything. The receptionist's face turned pale. The smirk she had in the lobby had vanished entirely. Malcolm finally straightened and spoke softly, enough for the staff to hear. How does the aerodynamics package perform at high speed? And is the engine calibrated for endurance racing, or more for city handling? The concierge stammered. Most guests wouldn't need to know that. Malcolm's voice stayed calm, but his tone carried quiet authority. And yet you assumed I wouldn't. The room went still. Even a few VIP guests turned to watch. The staff in the corner shifted uncomfortably. Their earlier whispers, jokes, and mocking gestures were now visible in stark contrast to the calm, commanding figure before them. The receptionist tried to laugh nervously. I was just following protocol. Malcolm's gaze swept across her, then the concierge and security attendant. Each of them felt the weight of judgment, unspoken but undeniable. He tilted his head slightly. Protocol, or prejudice? The words were a scalpel, precise and cutting. One of the guests murmured to another. They mocked him, right in the lobby? Yes, came the whispered reply. And he just walked in as if nothing happened. Malcolm reached into his coat pocket and removed a slim, black card holder. He flipped it open, revealing a single platinum card embossed in silver. Malcolm Grant, majority investor, Marcellus Grand Hotel and exclusive Lamborghini auction. The staff froze. Their eyes widened. The concierge's mouth hung open. The receptionist clutched her clipboard like a shield. Malcolm's voice broke the silence, calm, resonant, commanding. You believed you could judge me by my shoes. By my coat. By my presence. You thought this world was close to me. Yet here I stand, in a place you've spent your career protecting, because it is mine. Every eye in the room, staff and guests alike, was fixed on him. The room felt smaller. Every laugh from the lobby, every whispered joke replayed in their minds. He continued, voice deliberate. Respect isn't earned by wealth or title. It's shown, every single time, to every single person. And you chose to mock someone before knowing him. The concierge swallowed hard. Sir, we didn't know. Malcolm's gaze didn't waver. That is exactly the problem. Respect should not be conditional. Not here. Not anywhere. He gestured toward the trio of staff who had belittled him earlier. You will collect your things. Effective immediately, you are no longer employed at this hotel or with this auction. Their behavior is a reflection of their character, and character matters far more than protocol. The lounge went silent. A single VIP guest whispered to another. That was deserved. The junior coordinator, Hannah, who had remained respectful despite the tension, looked nervous but hopeful. Malcolm addressed her. Hannah, integrity doesn't go unnoticed. You saw what happened. You didn't join in, didn't laugh. From this moment forward, you will assist in all future high-level events. Consider this a promotion. I expect you to uphold the same values I just spoke of. Hannah's eyes welled up. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. Malcolm nodded once. Then he turned back to the Lamborghini, running his hand gently over the car's polished surface. Silence had returned, but it was heavy with respect. Not fear, not mockery, but recognition. He spoke softly, almost to himself, but loud enough for those closest to hear. Never underestimate anyone. Not by appearance. Not by their shoes. Not by the coat they wear. In the end, respect costs nothing, but the absence of it can cost everything. The staff, humiliated and pale, absorbed the weight of their error. The VIP guests, impressed by the quiet power and moral clarity, whispered among themselves. This wasn't just a car unveiling anymore. It was a lesson in dignity, humility, and justice. The three staff members, the concierge, security attendant, and receptionist, were escorted out quietly. No shouting, no chaos. Just the weight of humiliation and reflection pressing down on them. Their laughter, mockery, and assumptions had evaporated, leaving only shame and regret. The VIP guests observed in stunned silence. They weren't witnessing a mere firing, they were witnessing justice delivered with calm precision. No drama, no spectacle, just the undeniable power of truth and integrity. Malcolm returned to the Lamborghini, examining the prototype one last time. The golden lights reflected off the car's sleek curves, but it was not the car that filled him with satisfaction. It was the lesson delivered, a reminder that true respect transcends wealth, appearance, and assumptions. He looked at Hannah, standing nearby with nervous pride. Integrity isn't rewarded by wealth or fear, he said quietly. It's about doing the right thing when no one is watching, or when everyone assumes they know better. Hannah nodded, understanding the weight of his words. She had seen how quickly arrogance could crumble when faced with quiet authority. Malcolm paused, watching the city skyline glitter outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. The soft hum of the auction preparations below seemed distant, almost like a memory. He reflected on his own journey, a man once underestimated, laughed at, and dismissed, now standing as someone who had built not just wealth, but an empire grounded in principles. He thought about the staff he had just dismissed. Not out of cruelty, but to enforce a timeless lesson. Respect cannot be earned by assumption, nor taken for granted. It is freely given, yet so often ignored. The quiet power of his actions lingered. The lesson wasn't for the staff alone, it was for every observer, every guest, and eventually every viewer who would hear this story. Judging someone before truly knowing them can cost far more than a job or a momentary laugh. Malcolm finally turned, looking at the Lamborghini. He ran his hand gently along the carbon fiber inlay. For him, the car was more than a machine. It was a symbol of precision, craftsmanship, and respect, all qualities mirrored in the way he conducted himself and demanded from others. Malcolm stepped away from the platform and addressed the remaining guests, his voice calm, steady, but carrying quiet authority. Tonight isn't just about cars or auctions. It's about people, how we treat them, how we judge them, and the dignity we owe to everyone who crosses our path. Never underestimate the quiet strength of those you assume are beneath you. A few guests nodded, murmuring their agreement. Some even whispered to each other about how much they had learned from a man who had said far more with silence and composure than most ever could with shouting. He glanced at Hannah, offering a small smile. Remember this moment. Uphold integrity. And never forget, respect costs nothing, but lacking it can cost everything. Malcolm exited the lounge quietly, leaving a room full of guests, staff, and witnesses changed. The Lamborghini remained under its golden spotlight, a testament not only to engineering brilliance but also to the quiet triumph of dignity, fairness, and moral courage. Have you ever been judged before you were truly known? How did it feel, and what did you learn from it? If this story moved you, or reminded you of the power of respect and integrity, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth behind appearances. And remember, never underestimate anyone. Sometimes the quietest person in the room holds the most power and the deepest lessons.